Hey everybody, Caleb from thebookflipper.com here, and I'm here to share a brand new piece to our eFLIP software called eFLIP Outliers. And this is something that we quietly released last week, and the reason it was quiet was because we were in the middle of our Scout IQ book scouting app launch. And rather than try and flood the market with emails, we quietly released it to our existing users and did just kind of a sneak peek on Reezy Resell's YouTube channel as well. And I want to kind of walk you through what we've done, share some of the ways you can use eFLIP Outliers, and why it is dramatically different and better than any online arbitrage tool you have been using up to this point in time. So why do we call it Outliers? One of my favorite authors is Malcolm Gladwell. He's got a book by the same title, but Outliers is really born out of the concept of let's try and find a way to find mispriced books or books where we can essentially buy up or manipulate the used book market in such a way that we can buy the cheap offers and then resell them. So to back up a step, eFLIP, the basic concept is buy cheap merchant fulfilled offers on Amazon. It can be done entirely from the comfort of your home or anywhere with an internet connection, which is really nice. We've got a lot of international customers that use it. Partner with a prep company here in the US. So the basic goal with eFLIP is buy cheap merchant fulfilled items, resell them prime, and then try and profit that difference. It obviously works really well with textbooks, and if you get creative, you can find ways to find non-textbooks and employ the same logic. Outliers, the goal is not only to expand upon that concept of buy cheap merchant fulfilled, sell FBA. You're really going to like the search features that we have here. We'll get to those in just a moment. It kind of feels like cheating once you get the hang of it. As well as it's not just to find those price gaps between merchant fulfilled and prime. It's also designed to find books where the used prices have tanked, usually recently. A lot of times repricing software will get into a battle and it'll drop the price out on a book, and this is going to help you quickly find those. And those are usually quick flips. So instead of waiting for textbook season, which happens twice a year, for most books in the fall and then in the spring, this is going to help you kind of supplement your sourcing and find books that you can flip year round. Again, a lot of textbooks sell year rounds, but the majority of your sales or the majority of your profits, if you're trying to price for the peak season, will be twice a year. This is going to help you in sort of the off season. So let's get a little bit of feedback, a couple comments from some people. Joshua says, Outliers is like Scout IQ, which is our book scouting app, and eFLIP had a love child. I agree. Joshua also expands in a different post. He actually gives a little more relevant advice. He says he picked up 13 books using eFLIP Outliers tonight, and this was the very first night that we kind of snuck Outliers out the door. So he's 98% books, says Scout IQ and eFLIP are 100% the best tools for book flippers. I couldn't agree more. What else is it? Scott emailed me and says, as a suggestion, maybe you can do a quick 10-minute Facebook Live in the eFLIP group showing some tips and suggestions for using Outliers. It really is a game changer. Yes, it is. And Scott, we're going to do that video just now. So again, for those of you who aren't familiar with eFLIP, I'll give you just a quick sneak peek at it. eFLIP is essentially a curated database of nearly every book on Amazon. Now, I say nearly because Amazon doesn't really show us every book. They don't give us a database of all the books, so we have to build this ourselves. The cool part of this, we've built a database of a little over 20 million books. Within eFLIP, we only show things up to 3 million because once the rank reaches that book's not selling very often. And so it's really no use to you to have access to that data. And secondly, it allows us to filter much more quickly. As you can see, we can set some searches up here, click search, and the response is almost instantaneous. And that's the reason we've kept the database a little bit smaller and nimbler. So the main idea with eFLIP is you're trying to find, again, those cheap merchant fulfilled books you can sell for a profit. The API we're using, or the way we get our data from Amazon, is such that we're really only seeing level 1 data. So for those of you who are stock traders, level 1, you're just seeing the current bid, the current ask price. In this case, we can see the lowest used price. It doesn't include shipping, so sometimes you'll see offers for a penny, which don't really exist on Amazon anymore, but there's still a penny plus shipping. A lot of times it'll be $4 or $5 of shipping instead of the $3.99 that we used to see. So we see the lowest used price, the lowest new price, Amazon's price, a trade-in value, which helps you identify textbooks. You can see the number of used offers, the number of new, so you can try and filter that down and find books with less competition. We can see the sales rank, the average sales rank, which is over the last, we use an exponential moving average, but it pretty much looks at the last 6 months, and then the publication date. You can use title search. You can try and go down rabbit trails and find some keywords. You can find publishers, or you can even use our database of known textbooks, which is books that are actually on a syllabus of at least one university around the country. So some of these books may not necessarily look like textbooks, but the majority of them will have seasonal textbook patterns. So the main goal, real quick on eFLIP, if you're not familiar with it, is you can set these sliders. You can move them up and down and say, I want to find books where the cheapest used price is within a certain range. If you don't like the ranges that are preset in the sliders, you can enter any price you want. But what we're going to do here is let me just give a real quick search. So let's try and find books that are between $30 and $50 used. That's going to be the lowest used price. Let's go crazy. I like to look for expensive books, because if I'm going to spend 30, 40 bucks on a book and I can only make 50 or 60 or 70%, that's still going to be a $15, $20, $30 bill. And I'd rather focus on profit per click rather than focusing on ROI. I think people get hung up on ROI. Sure, you can find books with online arbitrage where you can get 200, 300, 400% ROI, but it's more realistic, and there's a lot more books if you're willing to take the 50 to 75% ROI. And again, in books, we tend to get greedy because you can go to a thrift store and find a book for $1 or $2 and flip it for 20 or 30, and you definitely can't beat those margins. With OA, the game's a little bit more cash intensive. But again, we're going to try and find books here that are between 30 and 50 bucks, at least $90 new, at least, let's say, $100 Amazon. We'll leave the trade in, the number of offers alone. Let's bring the rank up to 1 million and an average rank of 500,000. So something with demand. We're going to click search. And again, because we only look at books with a rank under 3 million, this search is going to be relatively quick. So you can essentially manipulate and filter and play with everything. Now you can sort by price. You can sort any of these columns. I usually like to sort by rank, low to high. And the goal here is if you click, so here we're seeing the lowest price at $49.99. Now when we click through, this price may be the same. It may have changed. It could have gone up or down. Prices on Amazon are changing all the time, which is one reason we have opportunity for these flips. We update our data at least once a day, in some cases 2 times a day, and we are actually updating several thousand ISBNs every minute. So if you came back in an hour or two, the data is not completely stale. We've actually updated some of that data kind of on a continual basis throughout the day. So if you click the title, it'll bring up all the used offers on Amazon. Actually, the $49.99 is still there, and it's often common. You'll see a lot of the cheaper prices that are acceptable. They'll have water damage. I stay away from those. Water, liquid damage, I'm running far away. If you click on the ISBN, it's going to bring up the Prime only offers. And again, we're trying to find a cheap merchant fulfilled book. In this case, it was $49 plus shipping, but that wasn't a good book to flip. And we're going to try and sell it for $75, maybe $80. This book, again, you'll learn how to read the charts. We've got some training available through eFLIP University. But the main goal is you're trying to kind of hunt and peck and click around and try and find cheap books here with a cheap used price that have a high prime price. And so one way to do that is just kind of take the shotgun approach and just work your way down and say, look, here the cheapest prime are $48.50. It doesn't open up enough. Here, $41. The cheapest prime is $73. That's okay. I'd like to see it closer to $100, but again, it's kind of a guess and check methodology. Here's a $40 book up to $50 if we're willing to wait, maybe $80. That's not bad. See if we can do better. So again, this is the basic eFLIP concept. Here's a good book. So the cheapest prices were at $38. Let's see if they're still there. Somebody beat us to the cheap ones, and you can see these ones here. It suffered from wear and tear, may have highlights, notes, and underlining. That's not bad in and of itself. Sometimes you can buy acceptable from these mega sellers. Other times you may stay away. May have highlighting, writing, and worn pages. Doesn't mention water damage. It's a brand new seller with only 1 rating and 0% positive, so buy that one at your own risk. But again, this one would meet the criteria because you're going to buy a cheap book and be able to flip it for over $100 if you price at the lowest prime price. So again, that's the basic concept behind regular eFLIP. It's a great tool. It's been in existence for almost 2 years. Mid-December, we'll reach our 2-year birthday or anniversary, whatever you want to call it. And like I said, we've got some better data now. So let's show you what we mean by that. So one of the things on Amazon, it's really important to understand what the buy box is. So this is just an example page. I was looking through some books yesterday, pulled up a couple screenshots. So when you go to look at a book and you type in an ISBN or you try and find a book for your class, you'll see the book, you'll see the title, you'll see that there's used offers from under $9, which is great. You'll see a couple buy boxes now. So you can see usually the cheapest rental option, in this case, is $20. I usually ignore those because people that rent are going to rent. People that buy are going to buy. Then you can see the buy box used, and usually there's a whole algorithm that goes into the buy box. but in general, it's the cheapest prime used price from a reputable seller. So if you're a just launched seller, sometimes you can get the buy box, but it's less common. If you've got poor feedback, it's less common. If you're priced ridiculously high, sometimes it's less common. But in general, the used buy box, or $38.75, is the cheapest prime price. The new buy box, Amazon recently started sharing that. They still kind of hog it. So usually the new buy box will be Amazon. So ships and sold by Amazon. So that's Amazon new on the listing for $79. The used buy box is typically the lowest prime used price. So used offers start at $8.98. Let's go see. Sure enough, they do. You can see some books here. Again, here's a good condition book from a mega seller. You can pay a few dollars extra, get a very good from several sellers. And again, we saw that the used buy box was $38.75, which if we clicked the prime offers on the left, sure enough, that's accurate. So buy box is what you want to see. That's essentially the way to cheat or kind of to work through this quickly, as opposed to the way I just showed you. And there's some limitations to eFLIP. There's some limitations to other online arbitrage softwares too, if you're using something similar. And that is all related to Amazon's API. Let me show you one more example, and then we'll get into what Outliers is and what makes it different. So again, here's a book where the used offers start at $10. The used buy box is $69.95. That's a huge jump. If this book is in good shape and it's not just a PDF or a loose leaf version or something that someone's listing incorrectly, this is potentially a really good flip. And again, that used buy box is typically the lowest prime price. When we click through, again, we've got a couple offers in the $10 range. We've got one new from a brand new seller that could be a little bit shady potentially. You never know. You could always buy it. Amazon always gives you free returns, so it's not a problem if for some reason it's the wrong book. And then what I like is the price jumps up really quickly. So this is just the first couple offers. If we were to click prime, the lowest prime should be $69.95. Now this is kind of the idea, and this is why we got into Outliers. So this book's a great flip. Not only can you buy it merchant fulfilled, sell it prime if the sales history is there, so you'll have to check the Keepa charts. But this particular book is not just a good flip there, but it's also a good flip even if you couldn't get a prime bump. And what I mean by that is you could buy three offers, one at 10, another at 10, one at 20. So you could spend $40 plus some shipping, so $52 give or take. You could buy up these three offers and move the market price up to $58 without even worried about listing these prime. So you could list them prime at $59.95, be $1 or $2 more than the cheapest merchant fulfilled offers, and you would hands down be the next sale unless someone undercut it drastically. So this is what I mean. I kind of joke, and there's some truth to it. The Amazon book market is sort of like an unregulated stock market. So you can come in here, you can manipulate the market by buying a few offers. Now you have to, again, look at the Keepa charts to understand, is this book selling in the past and at what price? If this book's only selling in the $10 range and once the price goes up to 40 or 50, it doesn't sell, this probably isn't a good book to do this on. But if this book has shown in the past that it normally was selling in the $50 to $60 to $70 range, and now for whatever reason somebody dropped the price, a new seller came in either with repricing software and matched it, or they just matched the lowest price because they didn't know better, in that case you can come in and that's a great opportunity to buy some cheap books. Now you can sell them prime and get the next sale anyway, but you don't even have to wait for someone to buy your offer at $59 versus $10, which isn't as likely except for the middle of textbook season. And that is the concept behind Outliers. So let's bring eFLIP back up again. Again, with eFLIP in the standard membership, you get access to the All Books database. You've got access to the known textbooks database, and now you're going to get access to Outliers. So Outliers is included with your books membership at $79 a month. It's not an extra charge. A couple notes here. Let's walk you through what Outliers is. Everything looks the same for the most part. We removed some of the keywords in title search. We're really after technical analysis now, and I'll explain what I mean by that in just a second. Everything's blue just so it looks a little different. So instead of green and the sliders, it's the same sliders that you're used to. But if you look closer, you'll see a couple things that really stand out. And if you've been on eFLIP before, these should make you fairly excited. One note, it is a little bit slower. We do have a lot more data in here. We still only go up to ranks of 3 million or less. But instead of having 3 price points where we had the lowest used, the lowest new, and then Amazon's price, we now have at least 15, if not more. So we've got the lowest 15 used prices. Let me show you what I mean. So here you've got a drop-down menu. Used one is the lowest used price. And the nice part is all of these prices are what's called the landed price. So they are the price including shipping at the time we pulled it. Again, this data is updated several times a day. Everything on the back end is updated at least once a day. So you can see the lowest used price, the second lowest used, third lowest used, fourth, fifth, 10th, and then 15th are the highest visible in the API. Then you can see FBA1 or the lowest prime price. So again, those of you who have not seen Outliers yet, this should get you pretty excited because you're going to be able to quickly find books where the prime price is really high. Second lowest prime, third lowest prime, fourth, and fifth. This data should look familiar if you're a Scout IQ customer because this is the exact same data we've got in our scouting app. So it's a different API from Amazon. It's a little bit harder to access, a little bit more cumbersome to build, but once we built it for our scouting app, it was a no-brainer to bring that data back to eFLIP. So you can change price number 1 and 2. You can pick whatever prices you want. We'll show you that in just a second. We've got the used buy box, which again is usually the lowest used prime price. And again, this is sort of like having X-ray vision or cheating when it comes to looking at your prices or trying to find flips. We've got the new buy box, which again is usually the lowest new prime price. And then we have Amazon's price. So if there's no other prime sellers on the listing, sometimes a merchant fulfilled seller can get the buy box. That's the same on a new book or a used. We've got Amazon's price. We've got another little checkbox, which I'll show you. We've got rank again, which you're used to. Rank is how long ago the book last sold. So a million rank means it sold about 5 to 7 days ago. And we've actually got eScore in here now too. So eScore, if you're not familiar with it, eScore is our own proprietary data point. It's a little better than average rank, because average rank of 500,000 doesn't mean all that much. It means it's selling every couple days, maybe, but rank can mean different things for different books. eScore is the number of days in the last 180 days, so it's in the last 6 months, that the book has registered at least one sale. Amazon doesn't tell us how many books or how many copies of a book ranked 50,000 sold in that given day. So rather than guess and say, well, it's 2 copies or 8 copies or 30 copies, we just say, hey, we know one book sold. We add 1 to eScore, and that's simply that. So an eScore here of 121 means this book has sold at least 121 days in the last 180. We max out at 150 because once you get above that, it's somewhat irrelevant. It's pretty much selling every single day. So, and then we've got the number of used offers as well. So let's jump right in. Let's show you how this works. Again, you've got the same link builder options. If you're using a business account, you can switch over to business. Unfortunately, that takes away some of your searching options. So I'd recommend sticking with a personal account if you can. Amazon Smile simply gives 0.5% of whatever you purchase back to a charity of your choosing, which is pretty cool. Doesn't cost you any extra, so it's nice to turn that on. And then you can show the rentals yes or no. I like to not show them so I don't get decluttered. Some people like to see the rentals because they're afraid that if, let's say, a mega seller is on the listing with rentals, they could switch those over and start selling them and pull them off the rental market. So to each their own, we give you the ability to kind of fine tune that. Now, again, the way this works is you can set this up and say, for example, I want to find the cheapest used price. I don't want to spend any more than 20. Again, these prices include shipping. Let's go right and just show you how this works. Again, the main concept of eFLIP is cheap merchant fulfilled offers or the cheapest used copy. And we actually want to see what the cheapest prime copy is. So we're going to say, hey, let's look at, for example, the lowest prime price. And we're going to go and say, I want the cheapest prime price to be at least $50. I don't care what the new buy box is necessarily, or the used buy box, we'll leave that alone. New buy box or cheapest prime, let's try and find $50 or higher. Amazon 50 or higher, and we've included this checkbox. And what this does is it lets you say, hey, I want to find books where Amazon's on the listing for 50 or higher, or I want to include ones that Amazon's not on the listing. So you can turn that on or off. Before, if you wanted to find books that weren't on the listing, you had to take Amazon sliders and slide them both down to 0, and it was just a second search. Not a big deal. We tried to make that just a little bit easier. So we're going to find books where Amazon's on it for 50 or higher, or is not on it. We're going to leave the rank at 1 million. eScore, you can change this as much as you want. We're going to say 6. So I want a book to be selling at least once a month, so 6 times in the last 6 months. We're going to hit search. Again, if you're used to eFLIP, you're used to instantaneous results. This will take probably 3 to 5 seconds, but I guarantee it's worth it. So the same filtering situations apply. If you click on the title, it's going to bring up all offers. If you click on the ISBN, it's going to bring up the prime offers. Now, before we dig in, look, the lowest prime price and the used buy box, they almost always match. So again, the used buy box almost always goes to the lowest prime price. In some cases here, it's higher. That's probably because this seller is either just launched or doesn't have great metric. Let's go look at it. So the $199 ranking, actually it's a big seller with great feedback, but for whatever reason, they didn't qualify for the buy box. So maybe they've got some issues on their account. Who knows what it is? Could just be a glitch. But in that case, you can see the buy box is a little bit higher. In some cases, it's lower. So the cheapest prime price here is $65. The buy box actually went to the lowest used offer, which in this case is probably merchant fulfilled. We can go click through there, see if we can figure out why. So there's plenty of prime options now, and either none of them qualify or some of them just listed and will qualify instead. But again, if your goal is to find cheap merchant fulfilled books, in this case $11, sell them prime, this is again, it's sort of like cheating. It gives you access to this data. So let's go see if these offers are still here. Again, prices change a lot. That's common. It's okay. Again, we update everything within the last 24 hours. And in this case, that cheapest offer is gone. If we were to buy this next offer up, it'd be 24 plus 4, it'd be about $28, and it's in good condition. And we can sell it prime for in the $58 range. So let's just, before we even look at the numbers, see if it's a good buy. So again, we're going to buy it for roughly 28. We could sell it for roughly 58. If we did that, again, we'd spend $28. The software knows what the weight is. It factors all the fees in for Amazon, and it tells us we'd make a profit of $14. So again, the ROI is only 50%, but you're not waiting for the price to go back up. You can sell that immediately. It's a $14 profit with just one click. If you use a prep company, you typically pay them $1 to $1.50 to manage it for you and never touch that book. Let's zoom out and see if this shows textbook patterns. Here we see a nice smiley face. Green is the sales rank. So this is selling a lot. The price went up in January. It's actually selling a lot more in August. You can see the demand was a lot stronger and longer in this case. So this would be a good book to flip now. Again, the price is normally in the $20 to $30 to $40 or $50 range, and for whatever reason, the price has recently just tanked. Probably a couple sellers have come on this listing and just dropped the price. So that's great. It's not as good as if we'd found it at $5 or $6 or $8 or $10, but we could still buy it for $28 and sell it for that $58 range. Now there is a lot of resistance at the $59 range. If you're willing to wait for 5 or 6 or 7 people to sell out, it's feasible you could get in the $70 or $80 or $90 range, but you're going to wait longer for that. And again, the goal with Outliers is to try and look for those quick flips. Let's look at some other ones. Here's a book for $19. The lowest prime should be $55. So let's see if the $19 offer is still there. Looks like someone beat us to that one as well. However, we can pick one up for about $30, and the cheapest prime should be in the $55 range, which it is. If we're willing to wait and be number 2, we can be $60. This book is selling consistently. I don't really see a textbook pattern, so this isn't necessarily a textbook. It does look like a educational title, but this book is selling a lot. I see a lot of heart rate. I do see a little bit of a smiley face in August. Probably not, maybe a little bit in January, but not a ton. So this book's likely to sell. It's not a home run, but we can buy this again for about $30. Sell for $55 to $59, somewhere in that range, and again, make close to 40% ROI. So that's, again, this is the main concept behind Outliers, but this is just the very first search. It's very powerful. Let's show you a couple other searches here as we get into this intro video as well. So it's not just for finding cheap merchant fulfilled where the prime is higher. You can do that here. We could actually do the same search and actually bring prime prices down to 0. So again, if there's no prime prices in the lowest 15 to 20 offers, then they won't show up in the API. So we could actually do the same search and find books where there is no prime price visible because there's not a prime price in the lowest 15 to 20 offers. So you'll see no value shows up. If we brought these sliders down both to 0, we'll find ones that have no value. So here we can see that the buy box, so these are books that wouldn't necessarily show up in the search we had just done. These are all different. You can see the cheapest used price is 11. The buy box is 21. That's not high enough to justify it. 8 to 20, no thanks. 5 to 7, no. So again, you can quickly look down. 16 to 42, that's intriguing. E-score is 54, so it's selling a lot. Let's see if we can still get a $16 offer. Looks like it's still there, $12.74 plus shipping. Again, it includes landed prices. We could buy this good for 12 plus 4, so it's going to be about $16 to $17. Let's see if that prime price is still in that $42 range, which it is. So again, this software is like having X-ray vision. If you're looking for those flips, it's going to be fantastic. Let's go back and look at books that are about 50 or higher, and instead of looking at the cheapest prime, I'm going to look at the third lowest used, and there's a reason for this. We could look at the second used and just find prices where there's one outlier price, one price that's way below where everybody else is. I don't want to look at those because usually that's when someone listed a PDF or an instructor's edition or international edition or a damaged book. And so everybody's ignoring that seller. I want to find books where there's two prices that are in this cheap range, under 20 bucks, and the third price, third lowest used, it could be prime or merchant fulfilled, the third lowest price is at least 50 bucks. And what I'm looking for here is books where the meat of the market or the resistance is in that $50 range, and there are cheap offers under 20 bucks. What usually happens here, one, you could have some bad editions again. You could have two instructors editions listed. What I'm hopeful for is we're going to find books that somebody repriced incorrectly, really low. Somebody else's repricer matched them and they got into a bidding war, or a bidding war not where they win, but where the buyers win. And in this case, we can see the lowest price is 12 bucks. The third lowest price is 614. Let's see what's going on here. So again, our database does not have new pricing in it. It's just going to have Amazon's or the new buy box. A lot of times when you see cheap new prices, that could be a red flag that there could be counterfeits, or in this case, maybe not. So here's those two outliers. We're seeing some open box stuff, so this may be considered like a software. That's pretty rare to see that in the books category. Looks like it's in the health, household, and baby care. So maybe that's not the best book you want to get. It definitely is a book, so for whatever reason, Amazon's settings are perhaps just a bit off here. But in this type of condition, you can come in here, buy up the cheapest two offers, and then resell them prime or even merchant fulfilled in the $50 or $60 range. It is selling quite often based on the rank chart up there. Amazon's not on this listing. There's no orange listing here, so nothing to worry about there. Let's look at a few other options. So again, here's one for $20. The third lowest is $73. So let's go and see why there's some outlier prices. Looks like somebody beat us to that one, so off to the next search. Again, a $19 range, which there is. Looks like somebody bought another one here. There used to be two in this cheap range. Now there's not. So someone beat us to it. Again, I stay away from anything with liquid damage. I'm going to leave it alone. When you do find books like this where there is one outlier price, this is a great example to come into Keepa, say track product, and actually set the used price to be 15. You want to get notified when it drops to 15, 11 or less. You can start tracking. They'll actually send you an email. That's how I typically get my results. So if somebody came in and undercut this, or one of these repricers said, hey, we haven't sold it and we're now 3 months on the market, it's time to drop our price, you would get notified immediately from Keepa. That'll let you know to go in there and snatch up that book if someone drops their price under what the lowest price is. So I love it when I see these books that are damaged. I'm not going to buy them, but if someone prices under it, that's a great chance to come in and scalp the listing and try and resell that. Let's try and find a couple more here. So here's some again. Anytime I see new prices really low, I get a little concerned. It doesn't necessarily mean anything's wrong, but a lot of times that can indicate there's some counterfeits going on. It's important here. You got some prices at 10, 10, 10, 20. It jumps up to 30 and then 50. Now this book isn't selling all that often. If we zoom out, we don't really see a textbook pattern. It's probably selling once a month, once every 2 to 3 weeks, give or take, and the used price has pretty much been in this $10 range. So that's not a great example to come in and try and move the market. It's never shown cases that it's going to sell in the $40 range, so that's probably not one I would buy. But again, that's the concept behind Outliers. You're trying to find either mispriced or cheaply priced books where you can buy up the market, buy 2, 3, 4, 10 copies if you're really aggressive, and try and move those for a profit. Let's show you just a couple other searches real quick, so we're going to clear this out. Again, it does take a couple seconds to load, but I promise it's worth it. Let's find some examples here where the lowest used price is under 10 bucks. Let's go find some really cheap ones. And again, if you're watching this, I'm posting it today on November 27, 2017. If you're watching this, feel free to come in. I'm not buying any of these books on the live search. So if you're the first one in and you see something good, feel free to come in and snatch that up. I'm going to leave the used one alone. I don't care. We're just going to go right to the buy box. So again, buy box is usually lowest used prime price. So I want to spend less than 10. I want to price it prime for 40 or higher. I want the new buy box or the cheapest new prime to be in that same range of 40 or higher. I want Amazon to be on the listing for 50 or higher. And if they're not on the listing, I'm going to look at that as well. Rank at 1 million, eScore, I like to put it, again, feel free to tweak these. I like to put it at 6. We're going to do that search real quick, see what pops back. And again, you can sort these once the results come up. You can sort it by eScore, low to high or high to low, rank, low to high, Amazon. Again, we're getting offers where Amazon's on it for high, or they're not on the listing. So again, it's returning a lot more of those results for you. In this case here, we can see the lowest price is 8, next lowest is 14, the buy box is 46. So all of these are potential good flips. Again, it's dependent upon having good flips in here. So here we've got 2 prices. We got lots of offers in the good range. This book's not selling often. It is a January textbook, so this book actually would be a good book to flip. You can see in January you could snag it for under $1 plus shipping. With all the demand came up, the price actually went, the lowest used price went to $34, and prime was probably higher. We don't know that. Nobody has that data necessarily. And then in the off season, it came back down, just a function of supply and demand. So this would be a good book. You can get shipped in for $5. The cheapest prime should be in the $43 range unless it moved. Looks like it still is. Amazon's now on the listing for $55, so you don't want to price too close to them. But you could buy up some offers, certainly in that $5 range. Let's say you just wanted to be next in line and not even wait and try and get, what was it, 43? Let's say 43 is a little high. If you're fine going at $29.95, you can get a 280% ROI. If that price will go back up in textbook season, you can get that $43 price point. There's a 500% ROI. Again, a profit of $25 on a $5 investment. Feel free to play with the calculator because you can put in cheaper prices. Let's say you only get $19.95. You would still double your money. $5 may not be worth it to ship it in, deal with some returns, send it into Amazon. But again, spend $5 to make $5, and that's probably worst case. So that's a pretty good example. Let's look at some other books. Here's a $10 book, and somebody beat us to that. Again, that's fairly common. Prices are changing. Here's a $9.67 book. So 5 plus 467 is 967. Again, water wrinkling, I'm ignoring that one. The next price up is 17. I'm good with that. It looks like it's not a really big textbook pattern, but the pricing has sold in the $30 range, merchant fulfilled. Didn't sell for a while, kind of in the off season. Looks like maybe more sales here. So this book has sold in the $20 to $30 range. I've never seen it jump really high, so maybe not a great flip. We can probably do better. But that's the concept here. You can essentially cheat or have that x-ray vision and find out what the cheapest prime price is. One more, and then we'll let you have at it. So again, it's great to look for these cheap books, but that's where everybody's looking. That's where the competition is. So look, I like to go up a little bit higher. Let's find something in the, let's say, $30 to $50 range. And again, just like the old eFLIP you're used to, if you want to type in any specific price, you can do that. If you have a magic price point or whatever. Let's look between 30 and 50. Again, I'm going to leave the lowest used alone. I want the minimum used buy box. Let's go crazy. Let's make it be at least 100. The new buy box at least 100. Amazon, let's push it up to, let's say 125. We'll leave the rank 1 million or less and the e-score at 6 or greater. What we're doing is we're trying to find books in the $30 to $50 range that we can buy, ship to our house or a prep company, and then we can sell prime for at least 100. So here we go. Here's the lowest used at 45. Second lowest, they're in that same range, which is what you would expect. The used buy box is over 100. So this book, we can see the rank is great. eScore is selling nearly every day, at least 2 out of 3 days. Let's see if the $45 price point is still there. It is, but again, this is acceptable. So you'll see these mega sellers that list them. They've either got them and they can't move it locally, or again, some students don't care. They're just going to buy a water damage book. For us, I don't like to buy these. I would buy something like this, although 86% isn't a great feedback. But again, they've got 19 books, like new. Maybe that's a red flag there, but that's a book you could potentially buy at $62. This book has sold in the $60 range, no problem. If we zoom out, we do see a nice textbook pattern, and the price even jumping up as high as about $70 or $80 used, which new, it's probably higher. Sorry, prime, it's probably higher. We see a nice textbook pattern again, where the price is low prior to August, rank drops, price goes up. That's exactly what we want to see. This is a very good textbook pattern, and it sells well in the off season as well. So again, I would probably do 2 things. One, I might look to buy this for the $65 price point and try and list it in that $100 range. 2, I'm going to set a keep alert, and if somebody drops this price at $41.79 or cheaper, I want to get triggered and hopefully find a good book, maybe from a Goodwill or from another seller where their repricer kicked in or a new seller came on that listing, either one. So I would do 2 things. I would set a trap to track it. 2, let's see if that cheapest prime price is still there. It is in the $100 range, and if I'm willing to be number 2 in line, I can get $119. 3 in line, I can get $150, but then I'm actually getting too close to Amazon. So I'd probably price in the $119, $129 range. And again, we could buy this like new. There was 19 copies available for about $66. Let's match the lowest prime at $109. Again, the ROI is not high. It's 31%, but you're making $20 a click. This particular seller had multiple copies. And if there's any problems, if it's not the right book, if it's an instructor's edition, if it's a counterfeit, any problems, you can always return to Amazon. It's a little bit of a headache, but you're never out any money. If we're able to get 119, we could make 40% ROI and a profit of about $29 or closer to $30 per click. Again, there's 19 books. If you're willing to really roll the dice, you could buy 5, 6, 8, 10, all 19 copies. It's up to you. If you're just starting out, you don't have a lot of capital, I would not put all your eggs in one basket. I might buy a copy or two, wait for 109 and see what happens. Again, if the price drops to 99, which is not unrealistic, it's not. You should be able to sell it at 99. If there's other prices in the $60 or $70 merchant fulfilled range, you can make $11. So again, you're probably not going to lose money. Again, you could. The market can change in any time, just like the stock market, but that's what we're after. So that's what we're doing with eFLIP Outliers. Again, we've brought eScore into the eFLIP world, so it kind of gives you a more accurate picture of how often a book is selling. If this book is selling 9 times in the last 6 months or 9 days with sales, it could have sold 10 or 11 or 12. This book is sold 63 days or 1 every 3 days. So that's lots of demands. And again, learn to read the keeper charts. That's going to help you. So that's eFLIP Outliers. Thanks for watching the video. I know it went a little bit long, but I wanted to share why we created it, where we're getting the data, as well as probably 4 or 5 different search options. You can get as creative as you want with these options, but again, look for those options. Try and set traps where you can find a cheap price. You can set a trap from Keepa to get alerted if the price goes below that, or you can find examples where you could buy 2 or 3 or 4 books and move the market price from $10 to say $50, because now you can at least get $50 for the book, and if you sell Prime, you could probably even get a bump above that to 60, 70, 80, maybe even 100 depending on the demand for that particular book. So that's Outliers. Thanks for watching. Again, if you're already an eFLIP subscriber, that's included for free in your membership. There's no extra cost. You can just come up. You'll have all books, textbooks, and Outliers. We have other categories that do not include Outliers. Outliers is only books, and it is included. If you're a new eFLIP subscriber or looking to join us from another software, thanks for checking this out. And again, that'll be included as well. Simply sign up for the books database. Thanks for watching.